It's time for another CGC unboxing, but why are there two boxes? Hey there, today I have a CGC unboxing, and in this video I'm going to open up two shipments that I received from CGC. And the reason that I have two boxes is that I decided to put custom labels on two of the books, and because CGC is CGC, they sent me the orders split, and then the two orders arrived on the same day. Now, I understand logistics and all of that, and I think that there's just a different department or a different process for custom labels, but I always kind of find it funny when things are separated and then shipped at the same time and received by me at the same time, when I wish there were an option to basically say, hey, you're requesting custom labels. Would you like these custom label books shipped with your other submission? Or let's even say that CGC has a number of your submissions. I wish that they could incorporate something that other stores do, which is kind of like hold all of your submissions and ship them all at once. Now, I'm not asking for maybe a giant box with 100 slabs in it, but I think that not only am I looking at this as maybe just a cost reduction, but also just a environmental awareness sort of reduction, like just fewer trips, fewer boxes to move around and so forth. But this is typical. I understand this, and I knew what I was doing when I placed the submission with CGC, where I understand that if you're mixing and matching, that they are going to split your order apart and handle it a little bit differently. So my recommendation is really to try and submit books that are similar to one another. I personally even think in terms of era, paper quality, maybe even publisher. I don't always abide by my own rules, but I do think that there's something to be said about creating some sort of theme with your submission, instead of just sending in a bunch of random books like I did with custom labels as well to even further complicate things. But I think going forward, I'm going to try and keep that in mind, just because it typically will delay your overall reception of the entire order that you sent out. Now, these books, too, were routed through the Palm Beach comic presser. I had a really good experience with him the first go-around and wanted to go ahead and send him a larger order. This time it was 10 books. And the process is pretty straightforward. I went to the Palm Beach comic presser's website, filled out the submission form, printed it out, and then mailed him the 10 comic books. And inside the shipment to Palm Beach, I included my CGC packing slip. And then what he did was he went ahead and worked on these books and then packaged them up once again and included my CGC pack slip and sent all of those books off to CGC, so that when CGC receives the order, it almost looks as if I've sent it because it has my pack slip in there, so they're able to scan it, mark it as received, and they go ahead and grade the books, and then these books are shipped directly back to me. Now, some pressers will use their accounts and they'll have the book sent to them, and then the slabs are sent to me, but I just figure save a step or two, especially a lot of shipping going back and forth, and my preference is to just include my pack slip and then have my presser just go ahead and forward that off. So that's the process. Now it's time to look at the books, and I will go over Palm Beach's grader notes and the sort of assessed grade before it went to CGC. So Palm Beach doesn't know the grades that these books got, and I don't know either. I did not look. It's always tempting to peek and see what grades the books got. Immediately when CGC says, hey, your books are done and they're ready to be shipped out, and you get that notification, I immediately want to go to the website, and you can go on to CGC's submission history for your account, and you can see the grades right there. And I used to do that, and I don't do it anymore because it's far more exciting just to wait and see the grades of the books in kind of a live-ish sort of reveal here. And it is time. It's finally time to see. I'll open the regular Universal Blue Label books here first, and then take a look at the two slabs that got a custom label. And I'll talk about what I thought the book was graded at, before pressing, and then Palm Beach's assessment after pressing, and then we'll compare those grades to the final grades that CGC gave these books. So it's time to open these up and reveal the grades for this 10-book submission with books pressed by Palm Beach Comic Presser. Okay, the boxes are opened up, and it's time to grab a slab randomly here. And actually, we've got some additional bubble wrap. So I'll first do the 8 books that got the Universal Blue label. All right, first book, Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars #7. This is from Marvel Comics, November 1984. I kind of roll my eyes a little bit. There's some significance here with the Madam Web movie in terms of Julia Carpenter, the second Spider-Woman. But honestly, I'm really just trying to get the entire Secret Wars limited series all in a CGC 9.8. And I thought that this book was in really good shape. And I'm looking at Palm Beach's notes. He predicted a 9.4 or a 9.6 on this book, and noted that he found a small tear near the top staple. And that small tear also broke color. Now, I don't remember seeing that. I might have missed it. But I believe I had originally assessed this book as a 9.4 and needing a press. And let's see the grade that Secret Wars #7 got after pressing from Palm Beach Presser. 9.6. Okay, so that was along the lines of what he predicted. And yeah, just kind of zooming in. Oh, I see. It's actually, you can really see it on the back cover right there on the staple. So yeah, that's too bad. 9.6, still a very nice grade. Happy with the results, but just looks like, yeah, I just missed it. I also see maybe a couple of ticks on the front cover too. So I think it's a very solid 9.6. But yeah, after looking at it and realizing that it did have that tear, definitely not a 9.8 candidate. Of course, I'm always doing this because I think the books are 9.8 candidates if they were to get a press. So if there is some sort of like disappointment that I'm giving off about it, I mean, yeah, I'm honestly looking for 9.8s. But what I do is I try to make sure I'm sending in books that still have value in a 9.4 or 9.6, so that if it doesn't hit, then I'm not under in terms of the investment that I'm putting into these books. So there we go, 9.6. And the label does say first appearance of the new Spider-Woman, Julia Carpenter. So at least that is noted on the label. Okay, let's check out the next book. Here we have Spectacular Spider-Man 115. This is a newsstand edition, and it is actually put on the actual label itself. It says newsstand edition, which I believe they changed in 2023 or maybe late 2022. So it is kind of nice to see that on the label. Now, this one has just a very short story. When I sent my first submission to Palm Beach, I tried to find books that I felt like had what I would say very straightforward pressable defects. And through our correspondence, I believe that Palm Beach remarked that he kind of noticed that none of the books he really labeled as particularly challenging. Like, everything was pretty straightforward. Like, we were just on the same page in terms of what I was looking for and then what he could do and what the sort of the typical common defects that he sees. So it was like we were just sort of like we were in alignment of kind of what the books needed. And I thought, well, when I received this book, to me, this book was going to be a little bit more challenging, as if I remember right, when I unboxed this, it was almost as if there was some like crush to one of the corners with kind of a rippling effect. And I don't think it broke color, but you could see kind of those waves of creases that kind of happens when a book gets damaged on one of the edges. And so I wanted to send a book like this in to see if it could be improved, and just if so, how much. Now, looking at my notes, I graded this book as is before sending it to Palm Beach as an 8.5. That's how bad I thought the book was in terms of the creasing that occurred on the book. Now, looking at Palm Beach's notes, he says crease lines bottom right corner, faint crease lines on back bottom corner, and his assessed grade after pressing was a 9.0. So technically, it got a grade bump according to Palm Beach, but not the kind of grade bump that I was hoping for. But ultimately, let's see what CGC said on Spectacular Spider-Man 115 from Marvel Comics from June 1986, the newsstand edition, and it got a 9.0. So I'll put it this way, Palm Beach is 2 for 2 in terms of their assessment. So I do like that, but I'm just disappointed that I was so off on the idea that the books could be improved beyond sort of my initial grade and then that single grade bump. And what I will say is that it definitely is an improvement from when I first picked it up. But I can see what he's talking about, the sort of faint crease lines. It was just almost like the book was too damaged to begin with, that even by pressing it, there was just too much history in the paper, I think, on this one. So a lot of this is still me experimenting with the process. So again, disappointed, but also I'm learning through this as well that, I have 2 books where there was a great improvement over my initial assessment, but didn't get the full, multiple grade point improvements, and maybe that's just how it is. And so I'm collecting this data, thinking about it as I go, and learning from it. And now it's time to take a look at the next book. And we have Uncanny X-Men 268 from September 1990, Marvel Comics, direct edition. And this book is beloved by X-Men fans and Jim Lee fans as just a awesome, recognizable cover with Captain America, Wolverine, and Black Widow front and center. And I felt that this book was a 9.4 when I picked it up. And again, because I already felt like it was a 9.4, it was worth the risk to send in. Just because if it didn't get the great improvement, there's still some value, and it's just how I manage risk in terms of books that I buy, and then spending the additional money to get them clean pressed, graded, and so forth. So I really felt like this was a strong 9.4 copy that had an opportunity to, again, get a grade bump. Now, looking at Palm Beach's notes, he noted a color-breaking tick and minor blunting of corners. And I've been noticing this recently in terms of just trends with grading as I get books back from CGC, that they seem to be a little bit more lenient on the spine and not so much on the corners. So if you do have any blunting or softening or rounding on the corners, but you think the spine is intact and is color-breaking tick-free, just think twice about maybe the grade that you're assigning it. And so because he's talking about a minor blunting of the corners, his assigned grade of 9.4 and then mine of 9.4, especially the fact that he's already 2 for 2, I'm feeling like this is going to end up being a 9.4, but let's see anyway. Here we go. X-Men 268. Okay, 9.6. That's fine. I'm happy with that. This one, too, has a pretty bad miswrap. So this is something that maybe I would look to upgrade from this miswrapped copy. But pretty good that this one went all the way up from a 9.4 to a 9.6. And I can see exactly what he's talking about, particularly on the back. There's a little bit of a blunting on the corner, and it's very small, but whatever hit that corner took ended up breaking a little bit of color on the back cover. And I can see how it wrapped around on the front as well. So good job by Palm Beach to get the grade up and basically max the grade, and also recognizing the defect that came along with it that was preventing it from getting a 9.8. I'm just staring at the book. I really love the Jim Lee cover. Can't beat it. So again, looking for the 9.8, but happy with the 9.6 here. And while Palm Beach was wrong about the grade, or wrong in the right way, each of the 3 books now, he's 3 for 3, where they all have received a grade bump from my initial assessment. Okay, next one is Wonder Woman 184. Now, this one is really interesting to me. This is from 2002, although it looks like it's from 1952, and it's one of the reasons I love it. I mean, for several reasons. It's Wonder Woman, it's an Adam Hughes cover, and it's distressed by design. So this is the style of the book. It looks very nostalgic. It looks like it came from the Golden Age or Silver Age. And what I noticed with this one is there was just some really nasty creasing, and I had to really look at the book to find the creases just because of the distressed cover design. But again, it felt like structurally the rest of the book was pretty good. Now I'm just glancing at the back cover and it still looks great. But the front, particularly near the spine, just had a lot of creases towards the spine. But I didn't feel like there were any real traumatic defects on this one, like really awful bad color breaks. Again, also difficult to find those defects on a book like this. Okay, so looking at Palm Beach's notes, he noticed some corner wear, but also indicated significant improvements along the edges. Now, his guess on this was 9.2 or 9.4, so again, no 9.8 prediction, but a prediction up from my original grade of 8.5, and ultimately, let's see what the book gets. This is Wonder Woman 184 from 2002, and it got a 9.4. I guess it's great that I'm wrong, he's right, and once again, this is the fourth straight book where there has been an improvement on the grade. Now, this book is very collectible, just as is. I paid quite a bit to pick it up, and it's noted on the label as a vintage cover. I was calling it distressed, but just overall, love the design of this book. So happy to get the grade bump, and yep, I can tell those original, like, heavy creases near the spine, those are all gone. I don't see them anymore, but I do see what Palm Beach is talking about in terms of just some corner wear, especially at the bottom. And actually, I see it on all four corners now that I look at it a little bit closer. And so again, I'm learning, and I'm hopefully trying to pass this along to you, is that corners really matter, more than I thought. Like, I'm seeing some of these books come back in a 9.8 that actually I can see a crease or just a small color breaking tick in the spine, but it's getting a 9.8 because all four corners are super sharp. And in my recent unboxings where I'm assessing books and grading them, I'm really looking for that perfectly wrapped sharp corner. And it's unfortunate I wasn't paying attention as closely with these because I would have possibly passed, but again, they are getting the grade bump. So that's 4 for 4, and with Wonder Woman 184 going all the way from an 8.5 to a 9.4, really happy about that. All right, next one, we have Star Wars Mace Windu number 5 from 2017. This is an interesting one. It's noted as the first appearance of Ahsoka Tano in comics. That's not like the animated Clone Wars Ahsoka Tano. I feel like that's a reach. I feel like her first appearance really is in Star Wars The Clone Wars, but she does appear in this book. And if you are a Star Wars fan, there's some significance in having this book as one of her, I would say, early comic book appearances, if nothing else. Now, I picked this book up from Mile High Comics, and I had originally graded it as a 9.6, and I had held on to it for a long time because, as a Star Wars fan, I really wanted this book to get a 9.8, and just felt like it just needed a modern comic book press, and I was just too nervous to work on my books anymore. So once I started to engage with Palm Beach Comic Presser and felt confident in sending him my books, this got right on top of the priority pile and sent it in. Now, looking at his notes on this one, he didn't put any notes. He simply said 9.8 or 9.6. So to me, in my exchanges with Palm Beach, when he does that, that's him saying that this book should get a 9.8. But just to be on the safe side, it's possible that it still could get a 9.6. Let's see the grade that Star Wars Mace Windu number 5 from 2017 got, and it received a 9.8. Okay, I was worried I was going to go through this whole submission and not get any 9.8, so okay, great. Love this Rod Rice cover too. Just really cool action here on Star Wars Mace Windu number 5. And like I said, I felt like the book was really close to a 9.8, but just wanted to give it that little bit of attention, and looks like it got it. And of course, like all Star Wars slabs by CGC, there is nothing on the label about Ahsoka. That's fine. Just CGC won't do it. They just won't put any character appearances or their information on the label. But once again, 5 for 5 on improvements. So great work so far, Palm Beach. 3 more to go in this box. The next one is Wolverine number 8 from 1989. Now, this is particularly special. You have the cover design that's got an all-blue background, John Buscema on cover art, and then you've got Wolverine and Hulk in their sort of alternate personas, Joe Fixit and Patch. It's just one of those books, when you see it, you know it, and these are the types of books that I'm really starting to focus on in my collecting, and really, really like investing in these types of books. However, when I got this back, I noticed that it had a number of defects on it, and I had graded it as a 9.0. And I don't know if this is healthy or not, but what I ended up doing is I almost wanted to get this book pressed and graded and try to get it up into a 9.4, just because I was upset with the fact that it wasn't a 9.4 raw. I don't know if that makes sense, and I'm not asking for it to make sense, but it was almost like I was just, once again, just really negative, and I just disagree with sellers that say their books are near mint and they're not. And it was like, well, I'll show them. I'll get this book into near mint condition. And it was just kind of a weird experience. I loved the book. I loved the fact that I found it. I wanted to get it slabbed and wanted to send it off to Palm Beach because I really felt like this had an opportunity to at least get away from the 9.0 because I wasn't sure what to do with it raw. And I don't know if any of this makes sense, but I thought it was a 9. And looking at Palm Beach's notes, I'm a little worried here. He says that this book has corner wear. Again, I think we're seeing a theme in this submission. And mini ticks along the spine and very minor color rub. So a number of defects. And he also said that he's predicting a 9.2. So now the question is, did this book get the full jump from 9 to 9.4? Now, if I'm looking at this realistically and analytically, I'm looking at the other books over here and how they got more or less a single bump. Well, the Wonder Woman, I think, went 8.5 to 9.4, but I'm nervous about this one because in a 9.2, I think there's some value, but I really want this to be a 9.4, and it's time to see once and for all what the book got. Here it is, Wolverine number 8 from 1989. Okay, this is all I wanted. Boy, after all of that, and a lot of my talking is just nervousness, honestly. So we've got the Hulk appearance, again, Chris Claremont on story, John Buscema on cover, and interiors, even a Rob Liefeld Wolverine pinup on the back as those initial issues of Wolverine had. So really cool, and also looks good with the blue Universal label from CGC. So once again, great work by Palm Beach Presser. Got the improvement from a 9 to a 9.4 and actually exceeded his own expectations where he thought this book was going to be a 9.2. So there we go, 6 for 6 on improvements. And we've got 2 more to go. And the next one up, Moon Knight number 11 from 2022. Now, this is a retailer incentive. It's a variant. It's a Bill Sienkiewicz variant. And anytime Sienkiewicz does a Moon Knight cover, I feel like I'm picking it up. But again, this was something that I felt like it was just one press away from getting a 9.8. I assessed this book as a 9.6. I would say that these are dangerous to submit for pressing and grading, because if you don't hit a 9.8, I mean, it's almost like this should have gone through a pre-screen, but decided to send it through Palm Beach instead. Now, looking at his grader notes, he noted back, bottom, spine, corner, faint crease line, and it might have been the same thing that I saw as I assessed the book in a 9.6, and his prediction is also 9.6. You know, this is going to be one of those where it's either a 9.6 and I've learned a tough lesson, or it did get the bump regardless of that faint crease. But let's see. Here we go. Moon Knight number 11, the 1 in 25 variant cover, and it got a 9.6. That's tough. You know, it might have been better off just sending it into CGC through a pre-screen just as is, but it looks like just the corner damage. Yeah, I can definitely see it. It's blunted pretty bad, and it looks like it was just not able to come out with a press the way that I thought it would. So that's disappointing. And I can see it's not just a blunting, it's the blunting with the color break. And it is faint, but you can almost like look at the book and see the corner is just not quite as straight. Spine looks immaculate, everything looks great, but it's just that one corner. And that's what did me in. So I think Palm Beach did what he could, but ultimately I think that the book, there was just too much history in that corner that wouldn't come out. So I'm going to put that one on me. Probably not a book that I should have even submitted at all. And I think I've updated my process since where I would have looked at that and just said, I think it's probably something that I would just keep in the PC or look to upgrade. Okay, the last book here in this box, we have Vanguard Illustrated #2 from 1984. Beautiful Dave Stevens cover. This sort of continues my quest of trying to find Dave Stevens books and have them in a 9.8. And I'm starting to kind of work through what I would say, you know, maybe if you're a Dave Stevens collector, kind of the entry level, more of the easily found and common books, and trying to get those in a 9.8, just because I feel like as somebody who collects his books, this is kind of what we're looking for. And it's almost like if you get the brand new book and you're doing a 9.8 pre-screen, these sort of books you want in a 9.8. If we're talking about Planet Comics, then you're looking at, I'll take that book in any grade. But for this kind of book, you're really looking for it in 9.8. Now, I thought this was a 9.6, kind of like the Star Wars Mace Windu. I felt like the defect or defects that I saw on this one, I felt like those could be improved with a press. Looking at Palm Beach's notes, no notes on this one's, just like the Mace Windu book. So I'm feeling good, and the prediction on this one is also 9.8 or 9.6, which means, according to his assessment, it should get a 9.8, but also puts 9.6 in there just to be safe. So let's see the final grade for Vanguard Illustrated #2 from 1984 with cover art by Dave Stevens, and it got a 9.8. Awesome. Love it. This is now my third Dave Stevens 9.8, and can't wait to get them all on display as 9.8s. So great job, Palm Beach. Exactly what I was looking for. Just somebody to give this book that last little nudge to get it up to 9.8, and you did it, and I really appreciate it. This book looks gorgeous. Spine looks just tremendous. Corners on this are sharp. I can see why you didn't put any notes. It looks as good as you're going to get for a 9.8. The case looks very nice as well. No Newton rings, no scratches. So very, very happy with that. So all in all, out of these 8 books, all of them got grade bumps or grade improvements, except for the Moon Knight 11, which I'm going to take the hit on that one. That corner, really, nothing really much you can do with that because it did break color, and I'm trying not to submit a lot of books for pressing if they have color breaks. So a little bit of a lesson learned on that one, but again, it's good to experience this and learn from it so that my submissions next time can be even stronger. Okay, now on to the last 2 books. These are the custom labels. I'm a little nervous just because I feel like I kind of sent books of similar condition in, and I mean, listen, you pay extra not just for the label. As I mentioned earlier, you end up getting these books back in a different shipment, so you have to pay extra shipping. You have to pay a shipping charge specifically for your custom label books to come back. So it's not just the $5 for the label. It's an additional, whatever it was, $15 or even $20 to come back from FedEx. So it is an investment. It's only 2 books. These aren't big books. I don't necessarily regret getting the custom label, particularly on one of the books, because I will say it's kind of fun that it matches the label. But really, these 2 should be 9.8s if I want to say that, you know, it was worth it to get the custom label. With the custom label, I feel like if you love the book and you want the book to pop a little bit, then treat yourself, get the custom label. But there's part of me that feels like only select a custom label for a book that you feel like is going to get a 9.8. And these two books were just books that I loved, picked up recently, thought they could be improved, wanted to send them off to Palm Beach, and hope that these will be kind of centerpieces around a particular character where I will be submitting more of this character's books this year, and to kind of once and for all really take the best of the best, the cream of the crop for this character, and get a lot of his key books slabbed. Now, let me figure out how to get these books out without seeing them. This one, and I'll just promise not to look. There's not much else I can do about it. And here we have Wolverine number 17. I wanted to get this one cleaned up and graded and get the custom label because when I show you the label, it matches the book. Now, I'm thinking also I had a Wolverine number 8 that I sent in, and I did not select the custom label on that one. And that's okay. I'm not sure why. I think it was because of the blue cover, honestly, and because you would see some of this reddish orange in the label. For some reason, I just felt like, no, I didn't want to splurge on that, even though that didn't make any sense, particularly if I'm going to get all of these Wolverine books with the custom label. Then now I'll have some Wolverine books without, and I'm just kind of talking way too much because I'm thinking about this as a crazy person, but it's just kind of what goes through my head when I'm trying to figure out what to do with these books. Now, this one, just a very, very cool John Byrne Wolverine cover. And I would say, too, probably another one similar to Wolverine 8, where I had picked up this book in near mint condition, and when I looked at it and graded it myself, I gave it an 8.5. I just didn't think that it was worthy of a 9.4, but also I felt like the defects were pressable and wanted to give Palm Beach a chance to do his work on the book. Now, looking at his notes, he mentions light corner wear bottom left, faint crease line in the UPC, and faint edging line top. So that's a lot of notes. Makes me think that, and again, I'm looking at a trend. The more grader notes that he gives me, which also it's included, by the way. I know everybody hates on CGC because we don't always get grader notes, even though the grader notes are free. Palm Beach has supplied me with grader notes for every submission, which is awesome. I love that. Thank you very much. It's just like, again, a very nice touch to the process. So you kind of set your expectations accordingly. So let's take a look at what this book got. Wolverine number 17. I thought it was an 8.5. Palm Beach is predicting a 9.4. And this book is going to get a 9.4. So he's right. I'm wrong once again. And he did improve the book, going all the way up from an 8.5 to a 9.4. And for as long as CGC is going to have this custom label available, I feel like I need to target this book. There's part of me too that wonders, now maybe not for every custom label, because I think some of the artwork is from Keys and Grails, but I think it would be fun to get every book slabbed with a custom label where the art is from the book. Like the Black Suit Spidey is from Secret Wars number 8. It would be great to have Secret Wars 8 with the Spider-Man image and then the Spider-Man image in the corner, just like this one has. So from a presentation standpoint, I love this. I love that it matches. It's really cool. Yes, I would love it in a 9.8, but now I think I'll be on the lookout for this one to see if I could get it in a 9.8. But good work by Palm Beach to get it up out of the 8s into the 9s. And yeah, looks great. So very cool. So the character I was talking about is Wolverine, and I do want to focus on getting a lot of Wolverine books slabbed this year. This next book is another Wolverine book, kind of, I would say, maybe a starter kit of, again, not necessarily Wolverine keys, but recognizable Wolverine books. I think this is one of them, and this is Wolverine from the same series, number 27, and this is cover art by Jim Lee. And again, very recognizable, noticeable cover art. If you're not familiar with this Wolverine image, I think once you see it, you can't forget it just because it's so dynamic. It's been used in video game art. And I've always loved this, and I just thought this was the time to send it in. For me personally, I thought this was a 9.4 when I assessed it. and looking at the grader notes provided by Palm Beach. He, once again, has quite a number of defects that he found. Light color breaking tick on back, corner rounding with minor color rub. So I can almost tell you this book's going to get a 9.4 just because of the experience, this lesson that I'm getting with this submission, where when Palm Beach is giving a lot of very specific grader notes and is predicting a grade, he's very accurate, and he's also predicting a 9.4 with this one. So unfortunately, not the grade bump that I would have liked. Of course, I'm just assuming that 9.4 is the grade. Should probably look at it first. Wolverine number 27 got a 9.6. Okay. All right. So I will stop talking about, what if it's a 9.4? It got a grade bump. So very nice. Happy about that. It does have the same custom label, but I wanted to get the custom label on this one because the colors I felt really strongly matched, and it blended nicely there. And it's Wolverine. I don't know if I'll get every book with this custom label, but very pleased that that book did get the bump. I was starting to talk as if it wasn't, and I should have just revealed the grade first. But thank you for bearing with me through all of that. So in summary, I'm going to go ahead and say Palm Beach was 9 for 9 on improving these books. The Moon Knight book was just a miss by me. There's just no way. I can't expect anyone to work miracles on a blunted corner that also breaks color. Like, I'm honestly surprised it got a 9.6. So I don't want to necessarily say he was 9 out of 10. I think he was 9 for 9 on improving these comics. The question is, should these have been pressed, right? That's where I'm thinking to myself, like, what should I have done with these? And I think how I've modified my process to help me make these decisions, I think are good going forward. Some of these are emotional, like particularly the 3 Wolverine books. I went on and rambled about Wolverine 8, where I was just mad. I was disappointed. I was upset the fact that I got it in a 9 raw, that I wanted to see if it could get improved, and it did. So fantastic work. Palm Beach Comic Presser, thank you so much for working on my books. I appreciate the 9 for 9 grade bumps that you gave all of these books. Thank you so much, and I look forward to sending you more books in the future. Let me know what you think about this process, this experience. If you have any questions about how I submit books for pressing, how they go to the presser, to CGC, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Or if you have any feedback about the books or how you select books to send in for grading, would love to hear it. So feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, happy collecting, and see you next time.